What's good, Melanites? It's your boy GT.
And I am Kymmy Cocoa.
And we are your hosts once again for Innovative Black Stations Connecting the Dots.
Yes, we are.
Kim is not going. Kim is back.
I'm back.
And
they tried to leave me out last week, but I'm back. I went to Denver for vacation.
For 420.
For vacation. Me and my friends go once a year and hang out in Denver to check out the scenery.
At 420?
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about Waffle House, the different incidents that's went on with that. Also the incident that happened with the former NFL player in Henry County. We're also going to talk about Kanye West, Donald Trump. We're going to talk about, what else are we talking about?
Nas and Khalid.
As well as drug testing for food stamps.
And the housing.
Raising the rent.
Yeah, HUD is trying to raise rent for low income people. So we're going to start off with all the drama that's going on at these Waffle House in...
You want to start off with the one in Nashville, Tennessee, where the victims were killed, the 4 victims?
We can start off with that.
Okay. Go ahead and start us off with that.
So a week ago, I think it was a week ago today, when I was out of town, a man came into the Waffle House and he shot 4 people, and all 4 of them died. I wanted to give the victims names because what a lot of the media sources are doing now, like you'll see they won't say the person that killed the people's names, but they'll say the victims' names.
His name was Travis Rankin.
You're not supposed to say that.
He's now in a maximum security prison or jail.
Yeah, and the guy that brought the Waffle House shooter down, James Shaw Jr. has raised over $100,000, and he's actually using the money to pay for the victims' funerals. A lot of people are getting upset that your president has yet to acknowledge this guy, but they're thinking because it would change the narrative. Because, you know, a young black man bringing down a white dude with a gun, an unarmed black man bringing down a white man with a powerful weapon, it don't fit the narrative that they're trying to push around the country that the NRA is trying to push and the government is trying to. Some
Black
people
Panther
in the government
got a lot
are trying
of niggas
to push.
out here brave.
So they want the narrative to be that everybody needs a gun, and that just completely ruins it. Right. The victims, one was laid to rest yesterday. Torian Sanderlin, 29. She's I don't even know how to say the name of this town, but she was one of the victims. Joe R. Perez, he's 20 years old, from Nashville. Akila De Silva, 23, and DeEbony Groves, 21. So these are all very young people that had their whole lives ahead of them, and it was taken down by this hateful young man. Allegedly, people were saying that he was shouting racial slurs before he shot, but you'll never hear that because that, like, again, it does not fit the narrative, and they'll never admit that there's these Jim Crow juniors out here that are trying to carry on that whole situation with, being able to shoot and do whatever they want to do. They're the real terrorists, as you can see. Young white men are the ones that are committing a lot of these acts. And the government has yet to acknowledge that, but we acknowledge it because we see it. It's very obvious what's going on. But I pray for the families of the victims. Again, we have to deal with the gun control issues in this country. We're gonna have to get to the bottom of it eventually. But
what weapon did he hit? He had a pretty powerful weapon.
I think it was let me see.
Was it an AR-15?
I think it was. Yeah, it was an AR-15 assault rifle. Yeah, and he had gone to the White House and tried to jump the fence, and the people were telling the cops, when you see this type of stuff going on, you have to take control of the situation. So what they did was they took his gun away from him, but then they gave the gun back. They took it from him and gave it to his dad. The dad gave it back to him. So again, clearly there was something wrong with this dude, because when he went in the Waffle House with the gun, he didn't even have any clothes on. So I mean, this is something that could have been prevented had the right people gotten involved, had they taken the weapon out of the house, period. But this is what happened. So now we have another group of young people that have lost their lives due to foolishness.
And then we're going to also talk about Shakisha Clemens. This happened in Mobile, Alabama.
Another Waffle House incident. Mm-hmm. Shakisha Clemens and her friends were at Waffle House, and they wanted plastic silverware. She was on an interview on MSNBC this morning, with Al Sharpton, and she said that her and her friends were at the Waffle House. They didn't want to use the forks and knives that they had because they don't think that they were clean, so they asked for plasticware, and they said they were charging them for it. I never heard them charge for it, but then again, I don't really eat that dog food anyway. It's got to be a late night somewhere in the dirty South, drunk, and I go
That's
to the
the only
Waffle
time
House.
we eat it.
Because if I'm back home, I'm going to the reason why y'all got all these problems with Waffle House because y'all don't have White Castle. If you had White Castle, you'd be at White Castle at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you wouldn't be at the Waffle House because you don't know the delicious, tantalizing slider that is White Castle.
It's the same shit.
Nah, it's different. It's different. I had to settle for Crystals.
But up north, y'all got White Castle.
White Castle.
Yeah.
When you leave the club, that's why y'all got all these issues with Waffle House because you don't have White Castle. You got to bring White Castle down south.
But I mean, what? I don't. This don't justify what happened to. This don't justify what happened to Shakisha Clemens. But I mean, what person ever went to Waffle House and it's been clean?
No, she didn't say. She wanted plastic fork and a plastic knife. They said they were going to charge her for it. The lady behind the counter called the cops because they got into a verbal altercation. So the lady that worked there called the cops. The cops came, and as you probably have seen on the video, they choked her. They threatened to break her arm. Her dress was falling off. It was like so disgusting. I couldn't even take it. But like they were saying today on MSNBC with Al Sharpton, the Mobile, Alabama Police Department has always been brought up on discrimination charges. They need to be investigated, and it's ridiculous.
It's not gonna happen though.
Because it's Mobile, Alabama, and we got Jim Crow Jr. out here that are the cops. But somebody's gonna have to do something because it's not right. It's just not right.
Alabama just gonna always be those two.
Why
states.
would you stop there? If you go to Mississippi, you got to stop in Louisiana. You got to go to Alabama. You got to go to Georgia. You got to go down to Florida, South Carolina, the South. Every time we have a topic like this, it's always not saying it doesn't happen in the North because we've seen what happened in Staten Island with the I Can't Breathe and that whole situation, but. The cops need to be held more accountable for their actions, bottom line. And like what I did was I put on Instagram the names of the police departments, the name of the people that you could call to complain. But you know what? People would rather retweet the video and not retweet how to get some answers or to complain or to take it a step further.
Yeah, but Alabama and Mississippi just gonna always be those two states that just
Florida, Georgia, Henry County.
Florida is not as bad as Alabama and Mississippi. It's not. Don't y'all agree?
Shit, with Florida, the only thing.
Don't tell that to Trayvon Martin's
Florida
parents.
just got the I guess the odd news. It'd be a bunch of odd shit going on in Florida.
Right.
Like a nigga tried to steal a plane or some shit. Or a nigga built a plane and he tried to steal the plane to take it was something crazy.
Yeah, that young dude.
I don't know, but it's just always some crazy stuff.
It's the whole.
They bored. It's like they bored, so they gotta find something to get into.
I don't know what goes on in all. I tell you the whole. All of the South, I always give the side eye to because I'm like, what is going on? But definitely keep up with what's going on with that case. There's going to be a couple of Waffle House protests. I have the information somewhere around here if I can find my phone.
To eat at Waffle House.
Waffle House is disgusting.
No, it's not. It's good.
Oh, I can't. Here's my phone right here.
It's good.
Yeah, no. Waffle House is only good if you're drunk and it's 3 a.m. and you can't get nothing else to eat.
You get the toast, you get the waffle, you get the grits, the eggs, the hash browns.
So here in Atlanta on April 30th, there's going to be a press conference at 10 a.m. at the Waffle House headquarters in Norcross. On May 4th, there's a National Day of Action protest at 3 p.m. at the Waffle House headquarters. And there's a whole bunch of phone numbers. I put it on my Instagram, Chocolate GRL Wonder, about phone numbers that you could call and how you can get involved with the protests and how there is actually a boycott of the Waffle House, which should not be too hard because all you gotta do is go look behind that dirty ass counter and this should turn you off anyway. But in case you do get your appetite for this mess, this should stop you. Yeah, the Waffle House CEO.
The dirtier the Waffle House, the better.
Exactly.
Oh.
If it ain't dirty, you ain't getting no good food.
Well, we also have the Huddle House. Do they stay open 24 hours too?
You gotta have somebody with missing teeth behind the counter.
Missing teeth.
All that.
A few felonies.
Tracks falling out.
You so stupid.
They be the nicest people though.
Yep.
Well, we'll see. T.I. will probably be there. And if you're not boycotting it because, we just got to do something, y'all. I don't know. Everybody's.
What about the Henry County situation?
The Henry County situation. So a former college football player was slammed to the ground, choked. I don't know where the NFL came from. Everyone kept saying I never heard of this guy being in the NFL, but I'm reading that he was a college football player. This is Atlanta Journal-Constitution. A former college player was slammed to the ground and choked until he said he was unconscious during an arrest by Henry County police officers. Okay, we talked about this a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah, what was the
So this is what happened. Okay. According to him, he was being called racial slurs by some people driving down the street. There was a road rage incident.
I stay in that area too.
He was called racial slurs by two white males while driving and had hot coffee thrown at his vehicle. That's what he said. He then said that he chased them down, and after he chased them down, he threw something back at them. So they, of course, they called the cops. I heard the 911 call. The guy was saying that there's some road rage incident going on. He's the victim. So the cops show up. And then we see what happened. The officer involved has been put on administrative leave. And what disturbed me most about that video wasn't the fact that he was being thrown to the ground. That was disturbing enough. It was the fact that one of those cops was smiling. And that shit just really got under my skin. Because I'm like, what is so, like... Why does that make you so happy that you have to wrestle this guy down to the ground, choke him out?
Because you feel like you tormenting a nigga, basically.
I mean,
you in a position
this is what
where
I'm saying.
You feel like you got the power.
This is what I'm saying about Chakeshia Clemens, and this is what I'm saying about the young man in Henry County, Desmond Morrow. He's 30 years old. This is what I'm saying. This is very reminiscent of back in the day when black men would get arrested and sometimes lynched for like hollering at white women, speaking out of turn, la. Like what this is what they keep calling it, the Jim Crow Jr.
History repeating itself. They're just doing it in different ways. That's all it is.
But the history that is repeating itself really doesn't have to be repeated because we have more power now. We have more money now. We have more ways to communicate now. We should not have to just accept it and be like, oh, that's just how this is. This is just how it's always been. And I think that's the attitude some people have adopted from generation to generation. Granted, I salute everybody that gets involved. I salute everybody that tries to help out. I salute everyone that encourages boycotts, stop spending their money, and encourages people to, come together. But until it's the majority of us that feel that way, it's like we're going to have to still fight these little battles. So the guy, one of the cops, was put on administrative leave in Henry County. And get involved. Like, people move to these little areas outside of Atlanta and they think, oh, I got a nice big house and it's inexpensive and that's it. No. You have to still keep up with what's going on.
Henry County racist as fuck. Henry County, Locust Grove, racist as fuck. Like, that's where I live. Like, all that shit, it goes on every day. Like, I wasn't even really surprised when I saw the area. Like, I shop at that Target all the time. So I was not surprised. That's just how they roll. Even the police will follow you around like that all the time.
That's how we were talking about that too in Cobb County. I mean, it's like, if these people have this reputation for having these horrible police departments, we got to step up and do something about it. You should have seen me that day when we went to Cobb County. J Black, you remember that? When we went to Cobb County, when the cops pulled that lady over and
yeah, that's what we was talking about. Remember, we were talking about it last week. I was trying to figure out what happened. Remember, he pulled the lady over.
He pulled the lady over, and she was just like, he was like, what's wrong with you or whatever? And she was like, I'm nervous. I've seen all these videos with the cops doing. He was like, oh, we only kill black people, remember? Yeah, that's what it was. He made a joke about how, oh, no, you're good. We only kill black people. And that pissed me off. So guess what? I marched my little ass right up to the police department and J Black was with me. And I was on the news because I was really mad. But what surprised me was that there was nobody else there. It was like me and J Black and his camera. And we were just like, do. Nobody cares that the cops are saying, you know what I mean? Like, that's inappropriate. And until there's a outrage, you know what I mean? The only reason why people get stuff done is because they make stuff get done.
That's true.
I mean, it should have just been more of an... These are the people that you call if, God forbid, something happens. Mm-hmm. So we need to hold them more accountable. I'm sick of it.
All right.